So after the league classification of DeFi, we now step into the decentralized exchange space and compare it to the centralized exchange space. And what it's all about. So with the advent of DeFi, the concept of decentralized exchanges became viable. So DEXs actually offer a way to trade peer-to-peer cryptocurrencies without the existence of any intermediaries or custodians. And with rising adoption rates of DeFi and also DEXs, the question arises, so this is the question of our panel today, will decentralized exchanges replace central exchanges? And to answer that question, I have the honor to present you to my panelists today. This is for uns Harald Platt. He is from Börse Stuttgart, Digital Exchange, so BSDEX. We have Nestor Palau, he's from Sygnum. Then we have Dr. Matthias Hirtschulz, he's from DeFi. And last but not least, we have Jan Kühne from Coinbase. And before we start with the discussion, to actually then answer our question, if DEXs can actually replace centralized exchanges, I think it's vital for the audience to actually define both terms. So my first question to the round would be, what is a DEX and how does it compare to a centralized exchange? Maybe Harald.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's obvious. It's a central exchange is something what we all know. It's steered by one company. They make the rules. They decide who can participate and which are the conditions. They create the rules and regs and take care that everything is done in the way it is expected, right? In a decentralized exchange from the
Vor allem schon eine ganze Weile. Ich werde
Sorry, we can hear some voices. Maybe it's only me. I don't know. Okay, I'm happy that you can hear it too.
Das läuft, glaube ich, ganz okay. Bin ich super happy mit der Moderation dieses Jahr.
Yeah, I mean, that's classic. That happens. Sorry. Go on.
Okay, and the decentralized exchange is something from the mindset is something is in general it's in a perfect world, right? Everyone can participate, and the whole community makes the rules, and everyone is on an equal point. But I think the problems with the decentralized exchange is something what we will discuss later, right?
Perfect. Maybe to introduce yourself, maybe can you say if your company, so BSDEX, is actually interacting with DEXs, or how do you take this topic, maybe?
No, we are a centralized exchange because we see also the benefits from a centralized exchange. So BSDEX is a fully regulated multi-trading facility, multi-regulated by BaFin, and that is something which is for institutional investors really a benefit because that is what they need.
Perfect, thank you. Jan, maybe can you highlight some differences, or do you have to add something, or maybe can you tell us how Coinbase is interacting with DEXs, for example?
Yeah, maybe from a Coinbase perspective on decentralized exchange, if we go a little back and at the beginning of Coinbase, basically our idea was to make crypto accessible. And making it accessible being, first of all, having a user experience, easy to use, on-ramp into crypto. And I guess that is basically still one of the main differences between centralized exchange and decentralized exchange, that from a user experience perspective, you will probably have the more smoother feeling in trading than you would do on a decentralized exchange. So that value proposition didn't change that much. But we differ maybe then in the sense that Coinbase is not only in an exchange with an order book, like an MTF, multi-trading facility, but on top of that, of course, we offer a custody, we have a self-custody wallet, which offers the entrance into the DeFi world, and we're a strong believer that DeFi in itself will lead to more economic freedom, which is basically our mission, what we're doing at Coinbase. And if we look at our institutional offering, the prime broker offering here, we have we enable our institutional customers not only access to the Coinbase exchange, but also to other trading venues which are connected to the prime broker offering of Coinbase, basically at arm's length with an order execution model behind it. So if the time will be, and we would have a regulatory framework which would allow our customers to trade within decentralized exchange, it is a possible way and a venue, of course, to add digital exchange on top of that. I don't see that happening in the very near future because of regulatory constraints. But we, of course, we do that and know that some of our customers use digital exchange, like at BSDEX probably as well. They on-ramp in crypto via central exchange, and then they trade on their own on behalf on Uniswap and others.
Nestor, maybe can you add something to that, and how is Signum actually connected to like a centralized or a decentralized exchange?
I mean, at Signum, as our name says, we are a fully regulated bank by FINMA, by the Swiss regulator. Basically, our mission is to bank all those companies that have been forgotten somehow by traditional banks that need a crypto-native banking solution in the space. So all the foundations, all the crypto companies, all the miners. Basically, by our nature and fully regulated manner of operating, we are, of course, operating in a DEX, on a centralized exchange, sorry. But we also kind of nature how DEXs operate. We see, I was checking before, 900 billion traded on Uniswap in its entire lifetime. That's a lot, but if we look into the details, see that it's quite concentrated in a few assets. And on the point from Jan on you know, the positive points of CEXs compared to DEXs is that this usability and security is usually a trade-off compared to the volume and liquidity, which is still, to me, is missing there, and that centralized exchange we can facilitate.
Matthias, how do you interact with DEXs or CEXs every day?
Yeah, I personally use DEXs because some of the tokens traded on DEXs, they may not be available on centralized exchanges. So one of the value propositions of decentralized exchanges, I think, is that they're quicker in that way because at least currently they are unregulated. A second aspect is that it's embedded into the DeFi ecosystem. That's another differentiator towards the centralized exchanges. I've discussed also in my talk that there's this kind of finance Lego, and the different smart contracts, they interact with another. And then you might have the case where naturally an asset management protocol, other use case, uses the DEX. So that's another differentiator. And finally, it's permissionless, I think. And maybe it's not that use case here in Germany, but in other regions, maybe where there's less access to financial services, this could be a third aspect. At least with respect to, let's say, traditional performance measures like liquidity, trading volume, and so on, they cannot compete yet.
Right. And in your everyday business, do you interact with DEXs? So, I mean, you have a lot of enterprise projects, I would say, at DeFi. Do you see some kind of rising adoption rate of institutionals, for example?
I mean, I see a first few use cases like staking, like custody providers making staking available for their clients. That might be one of the first use cases. Otherwise, it's more maybe the startups that already move into the space. And at least in Germany, there's not really institutional players, banks, or large asset managers that already went into the DeFi space.
At Coinbase Institutional, do you have like a rising interest into DeFi, into DEXs? Are customers asking for it?
Yeah, what we definitely see is rising interest in crypto. I think Drew laid it out earlier that last year at Coinbase we had 1.1 trillion turnover with institutional clients, which is a tenfold to the year before. And what we do see is that the Bitcoin and Ether dominance is going down. So definitely institutional clients going down on the risk curve and going into DeFi assets as well. I think as of today we do have 50 DeFi coins listed at Coinbase. So definitely the interest is rising, but a problem, of course, is that this, especially for institutional clients, has to be compliant. And if you have permissionless, which is a great thing on the one hand, but on the other hand, if you're an institutional client, you want to know which your counterpart is you're transacting with. Of course, Aave and Compound are building up products, white labeling, which sort of cater the needs for institutional clients in that regard. I think 1inch is going in the direction as well. but it will take time to have a regulatory framework for these products.
Do your customers, or do you want to add something?
One thing I would like to add, because I think it's a difference if institutional customer invests in the coin or if they invest in the ecosystem, right? If they put institutional money into the ecosystem for supporting the decentralized opportunities, finally it's customers' money, right? End customers' money, and that is highly risky. So putting only the coin and trade it with the expectation of an increase of valuation, that is something what we should differentiate.
But do you see that your customers are using your service as an on-ramp to the DeFi world?
No, it's as said, we are a central exchange, and that is what people want to have if they trade with us. They want to have hard regulations, they want to have rules and regs, they want fees which are, which they know. They want KYC, they want AML, and that is finally something where we think that is the door opener for institutional money, and that is something we would not change there.
Nestor, let's talk a bit more about the target groups of these different concepts, I would say. Would you say that the target groups differentiate from each other when we look at like centralized or decentralized exchanges? Who is actually using centralized exchanges and who is using DEXs?
So compared to what Harald just mentioned, we see our role a bit more as a front end into DeFi. We see demand from institutional players that see, first of all, that this industry is still governed by retail participants, and this creates a lot of inefficiencies that can create an opportunity to generate yield, and in a macro scenario where there is no yield anyway. So we see growing interest in that regard. Now, with regards to DEXs, and with the entrance of MiCA this last week, FATF, travel rule, and so on, at the beginning of our operations 3 years ago, we saw that it was quite a problematic topic when being compared to decentralized players like Uniswap and so on, but growing with all what we have seen in the space of hacks and so on, institutional players especially, but also high net worth individuals start seeing the value of AML, of a proper compliance process. In terms of demand groups, I would say that, of course, the more younger generations that get into DeFi also participate with less capital, and they are tend to take more risk in this regard and explore all these different platforms, especially driven by all these token farming and so on, which has been quite lucrative. But the institutional players still, as Harald said, they really care about where the money is being spent and what's the value the transparency of DeFi, but at the same time interacting through a fully regulated player.
Matthias, what, in your opinion, hinders institutionals to really use decentralized exchanges beside maybe KYC or AML? Maybe is it the market infrastructure, the regulation? Is it maybe the user interface? What is your take on that?
I mean, it's also related to what customers actually want. And currently the DeFi space, I think, is driven by, let's say, crypto experts that use that and switch between the different protocols. But if we want to bring it to mass adoption, I think the users really, they don't care too much whether in the background, let's say, beyond the user interface, there's a DEX or there's a centralized exchange. They want to have their use case covered, they want to buy the asset, they want to have a good price, and so on. So the question rather is, what can DeFi deliver to the user that makes a difference, that's maybe better than a centralized exchange? And one of the aspects, and that's why I think it's related to the success of the whole DeFi space and how it succeeds, and how as a user, what kind of services do I get? Do I get additional interest and so on?
Nestor, I think you have.
If I may, on top of what Matthias mentioned, like you made a question on what does the user expect the DeFi to deliver to him. I think it's basically permissionless nature of how we operate. But at the end of the day, I would say that DEXs are kind of the first use case of DeFi, the first innovation that came into the space, and then Uniswap make it big. But at the end of the day, what now we use more and more often is more the kind of the lending use cases, the options use cases, and so on, more than the the decentralized exchanges and the nature of it, the decentralized exchange, it's with regards to liquidity, and it's what is missing still. This cost of interacting with this. Trading on Coinbase costs me cents, while trading on Uniswap I need to interact with the Ethereum chain, and then settlement times, the processing times, the cost just to operate is too high still.
And when we talk about security, I mean, Coinbase and BSDEX is like a very secure platform. That's why I think that institutionals choose your platforms as well, because it's very secure. How do you compare it to DEXs in terms of security?
Security. Everybody loves that topic, security, if you have a regulated business. No, I think for an institutional clients, I think the space really opened up in Germany when the custody license came into place in 2020 with the German Banking Act, and that was basically the stepping stone, the missing puzzle piece for institutions to move into that area. That's what Coinbase set up Coinbase Germany as an entity in early 2020, receiving the custody license in last summer. So I think security is a major part, and in the discussion CACs versus DEX, of course, you often have the argument that you have this one single point of failure at centralized exchange, which is true. But I think what people more and more realize is that still in the DeFi world, you have other risk vectors, and this self-custody comes with risk as well, because you are then the single point of failure. And of course, with the smart contract risk, we have seen over the last, just 2 weeks ago, I think it was, with Ronin, what we've seen, 600 million lost, not DEX related, but you see what risks still are there in the DeFi world. But on the other hand, we clearly see that the technology is moving in an incredible space. So I think that the innovation and the problems we'll see here, the asset class will grow out of it over time.
Yeah, I think what we should also have in mind with the DEX business models, they are ultra innovative, right? And they are much more new than crypto trading. So that is, we should give this technology a time. But I think it's amazing. But when you think about what is the way, if you would enter the business model in DEX, how many steps you have to do, right? And who is able, here in the room, we had an asset conference, a crypto asset conference, but how many people would be able immediately to go through this process and be part of this ecosystem, right? It's still a very complex world. And that is also one problem. You cannot see all the opportunities where people hack your wallets, that you are leads to a wrong wallet, and all these things. It's really hard. It's also hard for me to see that, and I'm living in that area, right? And that is one big problem, that you don't have the security in your key, in your private key, right? And that is something what the ecosystem has to solve in the future to make it. It was also hard to trade crypto 10 years ago, right? And that is something, that's the same situation now. And 10 years from now onwards, it will be also easy with a good customer user interface with companies who are between, but then you have, again, then it's a company between who makes it better for you. So that is something which is really hard. And people who are trade, from my point of view, people who trade in DEX are people who are not totally new to that world and traded ETFs yesterday. They are coming from that ecosystem, and from it's always a lower number of people who uses the next step, which is more complicated. So, and that is something where we have to wait to see what will be the result out of it. But when we see the business models, I think then also institutionals see, because they have a totally new mindset where they see what is the opportunity from these business models, then they do it in a central way. And then they have tons of money as support for that. That is a problem, finally, I think.
Matthias, as you just heard, there are some obstacles, so security, user interface, regulation. Do you see other factors for the hindrance of like the institutional interaction with DEXs?
I mean, another point is with regards to the fiat on-ramps. We have seen that the people that are in the space already, they have their wallet and they can use it. I mean, from my perspective, it's okay, it works, but they still need to go, first of all, via a fiat on-ramp, and And that's one of the issues. So we still need that kind of bridge to bring people into the space. And yeah, that's another hurdle. I mean, I see maybe a development coming that there are economies evolving in the future where they are crypto native already. So thinking about play to earn, I earn crypto already and I'm already in the space, or maybe thinking about future developments like the metaverse. There's a new economy evolving around services in the metaverse. And then I may earn crypto native, have a crypto native income, and then I can go into that space. But for now, I think that's a hurdle to go into DEXs.
Mr., when we talk about decentralized and decentralized exchanges, do you think that centralized exchanges are actually afraid of decentralized exchanges? So are they telling us the truth, so to say?
I would say we learn from each other, like diplomatic way of it. No, I mean, I think we learn a lot from them actually on how to operate and how to disintermediate this industry, the new, automated market maker models and so on. But still, it's clear to many of them. But until enabling proper scalability solutions and so on, it's still far away from being a usable solution at scale.
Maybe to add on that, our role at Coinbase is not just Coinbase as the central exchange, but it's basically the trusted bridge into crypto. And if DEX is part of the crypto, of course, we would embrace that and would enable our customer to interact in a secure way. And sure, so we're not afraid of it, but we are happy about all the innovation taking place.
But for example, there are also DEXs where you don't need any centralized exchange anymore to get like a fiat on-ramp. How do you see that? So you can use your credit card on a decentralized exchange just to get some euros, some dollars, some ether on the decentralized exchange.
But that is really limited money, right? If you come with a credit card into the normally no credit card company does want that, because you pay with your credit card, you buy something, you put it into an unhosted wallet, and you say my credit card is stolen. And that is always a risk. So it's nothing. I think it's still a hard way, and then it's very limited from the amount. What you finally need is that you also we have retail investors. It means we have also retail investors with a big pocket, right? So and they should be able to send €1 million in with one action, right? And that all these things are not so easy with a very current banking structure.
So what we heard,
and then you already have a credit card, and you're in the financial system, and it doesn't fulfill really the approach that it's permissionless and everybody can use it, and the access is wider.
And given your example, I think the difficulty in building a product in Onramp into crypto is not that much the trading part at the end of it, but basically the regulatory framework you need. Probably, I don't know which product you're referring to, but maybe then you have thresholds of not transferring more than €500 for the on-ramp. You have to build a front end. You need some KYC, AML procedures, and all those kind of things. And basically having the trading venue at the end of it, if that is at the end a decentralized exchange, or you go to a Coinbase, a BSDEX, or a Bitstamp, or what elsewhere, basically to do that trade, that is probably the point of your least concern.
Matthias raised a really good point. What we should have in mind is that only 20 to 25 countries all over the world have our banking system, right? And so many people are totally unbanked, and their only way with their financial to do something is a wallet. And for these people, that is a good. All these decentralized exchanges are a good way into trading, lending, and everything else. So as said, these things are really amazing. But from our point of view, we have a very professional financial industry, but that is unique, quite unique in the world.
So to come to our closing statements, Matthias, so the final question. So will decentralized exchanges replace central exchanges? What is your take on that?
I don't think so. I think they will coexist. I think they are here to stay, and as I mentioned, they have certain value propositions, and they have a good reason to exist. So the question is the extent to which they take over business here, and Yeah, the one question is how can they overcome all these hurdles we mentioned in some way, and the other way is how can they deliver some value to the users?
Mr. Your take.
Neither I think that taxes will replace access. I think that the outcome of this talk was that our role as banks, as stock exchanges, centralized exchanges, is that we need to understand where the demands of the client are and service these with an institutional and KYC, AML friendly manner, so to ensure that all these flows of access are well responded. And service access to DeFi, as said, in a regulated fashion.
So a bit of a dumb question to ask the centralized exchanges if this will happen, but yeah.
Yes.
What is your take?
No, I think just Nestor just said it. It's basically our role is to build a trusted bridge into crypto. And 10 years ago, that was basically to buy Bitcoin, and now we are further down the road. Still, for mass adoption, that is still the one-trick pony, buying Bitcoin. But others are further down the road and they want other things, so we will embrace that. But I think the interesting thing here is the speed of innovation we see. If you would think DeFi summer, Uniswap coming out is only not even 2 years ago. I think I was on a podcast, Untitled Investment, last year on the same topic, CACs versus DEXs. And one major missing piece at DEXs was that we didn't see any open order book, no price exploration. This changed by now. We have the XDY with layer 2 solutions having an open order book on that. So I don't know what we will see on other innovations coming, but definitely we at Coinbase will embrace that. And if it's serve the needs of our customers and promote economic freedom, we will find a bridge for them to use that.
Yeah, I also think taxes will do in the future what they have ever done. They will move slowly but highly regulated in a very sure environment for everyone, for retail and for institutional. And taxes is really the exciting thing, what we all love to see, and also what is the development there. And it has a great use case for everyone. And when we see also with AVE, what they, with the version 3, what they brought to the market, and that is really amazing. It's 2017 they founded the company, and now 2000, what is it, 22? 22. 2020. Yeah, living in crypto is fast. So in 2022, with version 3, it's really amazing what they have done, and that is really high speed. But I think a central exchange will never integrate this kind of business model into their business model, but it's great to see these opportunities for also a different customer group.
So we see there will be a coexistence, so nobody will replace anybody. Thank you very much for listening to us. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much to our panelists.
Thank you.